President Trump, he's getting a huge welcome in his swing through the Mideast, and he seems to be getting along, at least so far, with his hosts. He even did the traditional sword dance with Saudi leaders. The president famously doesn't like to travel abroad, and when he does, he likes his creature comforts. Instead of local cuisine of lamb and rice, he reportedly got steak with ketchup while with the Saudis. I'm not making this up. He heads to Europe after his swing through the Middle East, and he will be meeting with the Pope at the Vatican. Then European Union leaders and NATO and those heads of state have already been told that the president, he prefers short presentations, short briefing books, a lot of visual aids, and they've also reportedly been told to make sure to congratulate him on his election win and heap a whole lot of praise on him. The president's own people reportedly nervous that the boss will not have enough downtime and he'll be tired and on edge. And you know, Dominic, to be fair, he's 71. And whoever put together his schedule here, I think did him no favors.
I agree with you.
You know, he literally got off the plane. He didn't have to get to go to the David Hotel or whatever. And they put him right into meetings one after another after another. You know, you're going to wear the guy out here. And this is somebody, and I'm not being, you know, I think unfair here, that does not do well with stress, and he does not, let's say, always bite his tongue. So far, somebody's stolen his phone or convinced him he doesn't have an international plan to tweet from or whatever. So far, so good after day one. But my only point being is he's got a packed schedule, and he doesn't at least seem to be too interested in getting with the local program.
Well, I applaud you, Richard, for being fair to him, because the last time I remember the trip to Saudi Arabia, I believe it was 19 hours when we made the trip, and I was in my mid-20s or 30s. and
round down, go ahead, yeah.
But you weren't on Air Force One.
Right, and I wasn't on Air Force One. I wasn't allowed to sleep.
Right.
And so, and Israel is what, 8 hours? So it is a lot, Richard. But he's still the president, and it's expected that he'll act presidential, and these types of trips presents him an opportunity, key word, an opportunity to look presidential. His problem is he doesn't have the discipline. He's going to talk about things that he shouldn't talk about, like Russia investigations or Flynn, and the moment he does that, there goes the headline of the day.
So far.
No, he hasn't. And you know what, Phil? Yeah. I will say this. Whatever you think of this president, and obviously Netanyahu had his own agenda here. The Saudis have their own. I think optically it wasn't the best thing. That's the first place with the repressive regime. I saw Ross. He was interviewed, and he said, you know what I loved about Saudi Arabia? No protest. I didn't see one placard. There wasn't any protest. Well, I wonder why. You're either dead or you're locked up if you do, but let's not let facts get in the way of a good story. My point, though, is the world always, but particularly now seemingly, needs a strong America. And they like the idea of a commanding commander-in-chief. Everybody's got their own agenda. I get the sense, and I'm extrapolating here, that everybody thinks that they can kind of manipulate him to their side a little bit. He has an opportunity here, not to broker peace in the Middle East, as he said, it's so easy, but nonetheless, we do have a role. I don't know, good people can debate what it should be, but if he plays his cards right, he could have a pronounced foreign policy with real impact.
Yeah, and you know, Dominic knows him, and you've talked to him, and you know that one-on-one, he's a charming guy, right? I mean, he can be very engaging with people, and I think he's probably, I mean, from what I've seen and read, you know, he seems to be engaged very well with some of the leaders he's met overseas, and from that standpoint, I think they like him. I really do. I think they actually like the guy.
I wonder how it's going to play in Europe. I mean, the thing that I found interesting was, Jeannie, remember what he said, not just about a particular nation or a terrorist group, Islam as a whole, right, was the enemy in the campaign. We're going to deport them all, okay? War with Islam. He made no distinction between Islamic fanatics or extreme. He just blanket state. Now, he mitigated it this time. The idea that somehow candidate and president are two completely different things, I don't buy that. Some people do. To each their own. But to me, he's got to convince them that Islam's not the enemy. Then he's got to, you know, tomorrow go to Palestine after telling Israel, whatever you want, I'm with you. They didn't talk about settlements today. They didn't talk about a two-nation state today. can you sell two different stories in 24 hours? And then what happens when you go to Europe and you say, oh yeah, by the way, NATO, don't worry, you're still our friends, and I'm not going to basically, you don't pay the VIG, we're not going to protect you. I don't think you can keep selling narratives. By the 8th day, you're going to have 8 different stories, right?
Yeah, and let's not forget, Europe is going to be the toughest leg of this tour for him.
It's
usually the easiest, but let's not forget, in the Middle East, they like Donald Trump because they famously didn't like Barack Obama. They're happy he's there. The Saudis are thrilled with the $400 billion deal that came out of this. I have to say, I don't think they pay much attention at all to the rhetoric of the campaign. They're much more interested in the deal that was struck.
Yep.
And he's been well received there, and he's kept his mouth shut except for the most part. But you get to Europe, the press is more aggressive. The European leaders have big question marks about him. His treatment of Merkel was famously not that great. So I think he's going to have a tougher time once he gets to Europe, and it's going to be interesting. He's going to be exhausted. Can he keep his cool? These are supposed to be our closer allies, and how is he going to be received there? I think it's going to be a really tough end of this trip for him.
Played footsie with Le Pen too, or at least that movement as well.
Yeah.
The ugly American part of this, maybe it's me and 20 other people who really care, but come on. It's when you're a guest, you're really bringing steak with ketchup. Like, I know it sounds so stupid as soon as it comes out of my mouth, right? But listen, Bush threw out a kimono, right? I mean, everybody does, when in Rome, right? I don't know. It just kind of, it bugged me a little bit, that.
Yeah, it kind of gets to this, to the childishness.
The ugly American thing. Let's not reinforce it, right?
I don't want any scary food,
But in fairness, if you don't like
Vegetables
lamb,
are for weaklings, apparently.
and I love lamb chops, but if you don't like lamb, then
When you were 20 and you went over, you ate that.
It kind of reminds me, though, remember when Howard Hughes, was in his last days and he was walking around in the Kleenex boxes, and his aides had to bring him only a special kind of like ice cream, and it was banana nut ice cream from Baskin and Robbins, over and over and over again.
I couldn't get past the tissue boxes.
Two scoops, yes. I think, right?
Yes.
Right.
By the way, have Dominic once tell you when he had to go to Africa, and
When he was a teenager?
No. As a reporter, and he didn't have deluxe accommodations in the military C-30 flight, and he still complains about Africa hot. Anyway.
And as a dignitary, you didn't get that.
I just want to tell you, Richard, quickly, the reason why I feel for Trump, because someone that you know very well, Steve Paulus, who I went to Japan with, and he tells this story till today, that I couldn't wait to get to the American Chamber of Commerce, and because they had American steaks in Japan, in Osaka, and I asked for 2, and he tells this story till today.
And please don't put ketchup on it. Even if you did, don't tell me you did, all right? Coming up next, we come back stateside. Governor Cuomo taking flack for not taking time to deal with the subways, accused of taking credit for the good but not being around for the bad. Is it fair, though, the criticism coming his way?